Hey guys, Disco here. Today we're doing the spoiler opinion and review of Resident Evil Apocalypse. Yes, I am on a different picture. Just felt like letting it be this picture of the movie for this video, just to spice it up a little bit. So I'm going to start at the beginning of the movie. So basically, the movie opens up with what is happening while in between parts of the first movie. If you remember, in the first movie, right, from when Alice gets taken by the guys in hazmat suits to when she wakes up, the city was like destroyed. This is what happened in between when they took her, so she's still, on that bed with all the stuff in her. She hasn't left yet. It's in between, obviously. So like she's still there. And basically this movie shows what happened before, when she wakes up. So the city's normal. The zombies have gotten out, right? There are now zombies. There's some zombies in the police station and stuff. They showed the back of this character. I knew immediately who it was because of the video games, because they wear a very similar outfit. In one of the games, which is closely related to this movie, Jill walks into the Jill Valentine, one of my favorite Resident Evil characters. She walks in, she shoots some zombies because she's a badass. She's planning to leave. It then cuts to some soldiers, and it cuts around a lot at the beginning, which is very confusing. Basically, there's a soldier that releases Alice, which is why she woke up and stuff. But that soldier, after letting her out, just left. I don't know. It's weird. So yeah. So basically the city, you can't leave the city. There's one bridge that will let you out. There ends up being a zombie on the bridge. Jill shoots it in the face. Now you can't leave. They close the doors on everybody. So Jill and the soldier that got bit by that zombie, them and this reporter, wish I could remember her name, this reporter girl from the channel from Raccoon City, like Channel 7 News or whatever. The three of them take off. The soldiers that got trapped are all fighting. 12 of the soldiers end up in this building. There's one that has a sniper rifle on the top of the roof. The rest of them are inside. We'll get to them later. And then you have 3 other soldiers that are basically stranded. They're not by anybody. And you have Alice. Alice goes into a store. She changes. She also is having some issues. We'll get to those issues later. Oh my god, this movie. But yeah, that's basically the beginning of the movie. As you get into the middle of the movie, basically, there's a scientist that they took earlier in the movie. They took his daughter as well. Don't worry about the daughter yet. We'll get to her. She's a big plot point of the movie. They take the scientist and stuff. The scientist decides to help his daughter. It ends up not. It ended up. We'll get to that. So he hacks into the computers and he's like monitoring everything. He sends a call. He's like monitored by. So he sees Alice. He sees Alice standing there, basically where she was at the beginning of 2, like walking, which is when we see her going to the store and stuff. But yeah, he's trying to help them. Jill and her friend and the reporter, they go into a church. There's a guy in the church with a revolver for some reason. Jill is also going. Jill's looking around. She finds someone and she's trying to call out to them. Basically, it's whoever the prisoner is calling out to was like the priest's daughter. The priest was there, basically trying to make Jill leave her daughter alone. Her daughter
is a zombie, and the priest is feeding her like human remains, like blood and stuff. Jill, of course, is sickened by it. I would be too. Um, Zombie girl, she the zombie bites her dad or the priest. I don't know if it's her dad or not. It's kind of shown that he is, but you never know. Jill shoots you. Jill, I'm. It cuts to the udder, so you don't see her shoot. Or at least she tried to shoot the girl. Well, she tried, and then the dad priest person stopped her. They cut to her friends, and I believe they heard gunshots, so they know that something happened. I'm assuming she shot both of them, especially because one of them got bit. Um, the reporter gets freaked out. She tries to leave, so a bunch of zombies try to get in. They close the door, and then that's when they realize that there's these like there like there's some lichens in there, but these lichens look a lot better than than when we first saw the one in the first movie. Also, they look different in this movie for some reason. So they're trying to shoot them. They run out of ammo. They're scared. Alice comes bursting through a window thing on a motorcycle because she's the best with a bunch of weapons. She kills all three of them. And then she gets the three of them to join her, and they start walking. Yeah, basically she's helping them. Jill, of course, asks who she is, but it cuts off away. It cuts to the three soldiers that we were introduced. There was some other soldiers. They're just killing zombies. One of them ends up getting bit though. One of them ends up getting bit, and two of the other soldiers are like just walking around with them. They find a helicopter, so they're thinking they're getting help. The helicopter isn't helping them. It drops some stuff off um in like a hospital. They they dropped weapons for something we'll get to later. For some reason these guys didn't take it before the thing that they dropped them for could. I don't know why, but basically the guy that got bit turns into a zombie right then and there. They kill him. They kill their friend, Yuri was his name. They kill him, and then the two of them are alone, not really sure what to do. Um, I'm sorry if I'm all over the place. The movie itself was all over the place. Alice and them, they were in a graveyard, which I learned is a reference to Code Veronica. I don't know anything about Code Veronica, so other than it follows Claire and Chris during the events of I think Free or after the events of Free. It's either during the events of Free or after the events of RE3 in terms of game logic. They're in the graveyard. A bunch of zombies start coming out of the grave, so they're like trying to kill them and stuff. Um, a lot of other stuff happened. They end up in a car just driving around. They're trying to figure out like what's happening, stuff like that. The event oh yeah. So it cuts they're like they end up in a I don't remember but I don't remember what building it was, but they end up in a building. I think they're looking for supplies or something. I don't really remember. They were like in this building, or remember not. I forget, honestly. But they were, they were together walking around. Um, Later, so we learned what the weapons in the hospital were for. It's for Project Nemesis. So Nemesis. If you saw the first movie, you would know that Project Nemesis, specifically the Nemesis we see, because they acted like because they said Nemesis program, so that could be multiple. Basically, the police officer environmentalist dude from the first movie that was the only other survivor in the first movie besides Alice. who you guys are currently seeing, that escapes, he that's him. He's got a flipping rocket launcher and a flipping 5,000 round minigun. You heard me correctly. He's got a giant ass minigun he's walking around with and a fucking rocket launcher. So Nemesis, he goes to this that building I was talking about with all the guys. We saw the pimp in there. The pimp guy. If you saw my spoiler free review, you know about the pimp guy a little bit. But yeah, we saw him just do some stuff. He is in the he goes into that building. All the stars guys pointing their guns at him because they're stars. He of course is showing off that he has these gold. They're like gold. They're custom revolvers, but they're like gold plated all over. Like they're just shiny gold because why not? The sniper on the roof is shooting Nemesis. Nemesis shoots his rocket launcher at one point because the um, sort of it's the villain in this movie because in the first movie the villain is well the first movie sort of had a twist villain technically. This movie had sort of a twist villain because he's shown as trying to like be helpful at the beginning, but it's obviously as the movie progresses you see he's not a good guy. But basically he's having these people basically put in like they're ordering Nemesis with these computers to do what he does. So he shoots his rocket launcher, he kills the guy on the roof. Was it the gun or was the sniper? And then he uses the minigun and guns down the rest of the Star soldiers. He leaves the civilian alone, the pimp guy, and he just starts walking. Eventually, Alice is fighting him. There isn't much to say up to that point. I mean, they're just kind of walking. They get a phone call from the guy, the scientist guy. He wants them to find his daughter and to let them out. So they talk a little bit about that. Nemesis, LC's Nemesis, the other people, Jill's friend. I don't remember his name. The reporter girl don't see him, but she did. Nemesis appears. So Jill, sorry, it's this lady, the other soldier. I wish I could remember his name. Reporter, not scientist lead reporter. The three of them go. Alice is fighting Nemesis a little bit. She ends up escaping Nemesis though, which is cool. And then what else happens? Oh yeah, so Jill's friend ends up turning into a zombie. She's like in this truck trying to start it. She's trying to put the wires together. This is of course after the fight scene we see with between Jill and Nemesis. Oh yeah, she apparently she dislocated one of her fingers and she popped it back into place. And the only reaction she gave to popping back into place was like breathe. She was like breathing heavily, which she already kind of was, and that was it. So, Jill and Alice are shown as they're the most badass characters of this whole movie besides the Nemesis because they are, I guess. Um. Oh yeah. So Jill's heart starting the car. The reporter goes into it. Her friend shows up as a zombie trying to bite her. Jill ends up shooting him. She closes her eyes and shoots him in the face. And then the pimp shows up. Jill lets the pimp get into the car, so the pimp goes into the back. They're driving to the school. We don't see Alice again for a bit, but we'll get there. The two remaining officers, one of them is Carlos. I don't remember the name of the other guy. If you saw the spoiler-free review, that would be the sort of Russian-sounding guy. They hear a phone call. They, of course, answer it. They also go to the school. at the school. At the school, it follows Jill, the reporter, and the pimp guy. Jill hands the reporter girl a gun, and she immediately says, I've never used one of these in my life. I was basically bashing her the whole time. She was kind of a liability, except for the camera. Um, and so it shows the pimp, and he's like walking through the upstairs. He gets jump scared by a skeleton. I didn't get scared, of course. Actual zombie shows up. Carlos shoots the zombie in the face, so Carlos and him are together. Apparently, so yeah, there's that, and then Jill. Oh yeah, and then it cuts to the reporter. She goes into a classroom. There's a girl rocking back and forth, and she's calling out to it, thinking that's the girl they came here for. Nope. The reporter lady was calling out to a zombie eating something. A bunch of zombie children show up. They are immediately eating the reporter and drag her somewhere. She's dead. Don't worry about her. Jill hears her screaming from the gym. Jill goes there. Of course, her friend's gone. She finds the girl. Oh God, what's her? Angela? She finds Angela, the daughter of the scientist, but everyone calls her Annie. So from now, her friends call her Annie. So from now on, I'm gonna refer to Angela as Annie because she says it to Jill. Basically, Annie tells Jill that they won't be able to save her. Jill gets Annie to take the camera that she had, and the two of them are walking around. They end up walking into the cafeteria. Jill runs out of ammo. The Russian sounding guy, he comes in, he starts gunning them down. He's fighting one of the dogs, and he's like, I got this, like, take the girl, like, leave. So they go to sort of the kitchen, so they end up into the kitchen area. Second dog shows up. Russian shouting guy, he dies. He's dead. Straight up, he dies. Don't worry about him. Jill is trying. Well, Jill's plan is to blow up the zombie dogs, but as she's throwing her like lighter thing, it goes out. Alice throws a cigarette in there for some reason. I don't know if Jill ever does this in the games, but in the movie, she smokes a lot. In the movie, Jill is the only smoker in the movie. Like, a few times she's smoking. I don't know if she does that in the games. I don't think she does in the games. I just thought it was interesting that movie Jill is a smoker. Because, I'm not used to that. What's this picture? Oh. That is a different language. There is a lot of pictures. Oh, okay. Yeah, there is a lot of... Oh, yeah. Is that a game? That's a weird thing to put. What was it? My name is Alice. I remember everything. Okay, yeah, that's fair. It's on Blu-ray. Yeah, Jill, right here in the middle in the classic blue shirt. That's her friend. That's the reporter lady. Dead. She's fine though. There's a girl. Anyways, before we just keep looking at, I guess while we're looking through these, there's Joe in the background. That's cool. But yeah, where was I? So at the school was was Alice talking about Joe being his first. So yeah, Alice throws in a cigarette, blows up the dogs. They're dead, the zombie dogs. Immediately, Alice and Annie, they immediately have sort of a connection. Jill notices it, and it's revealed that Annie is infected, but like she's infected with the T virus, but she can't mutate it. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to walk. And Annie tells the story that her dad actually created the T virus so she could walk, because they were told that her dad is in a wheelchair. He's wheelchair bound, and they were told that Annie would be on crutches forever. And his dad succeeded in giving Annie, a chance to walk and be sort of normal. Umbrella when so that then Flash Umbrella when those hazmat scientists took Alice, they injected her with the T virus, which is finally shown and revealed. Um, she's put in a similar place. It like heightened all of her senses and stuff, and then so yeah, so they go. There's Amy. There's Carlos. But yeah, so basically where this scene is, it's later, but yeah, there's a bunch of shots of Alice being a badass and whatnot. Some other shots. A lot of there's a lot to unpack in here. Um apparently that's a bunch of the movie version. Well, they don't have the final chapter, so yeah, it looks like Extreme will be next one. These are we already talked about this one. We're currently talking about this one. Still need to see the other three. We'll get to those. Really scared though. There's Nemesis. There's a costume of his. Is that Jill? Yeah. But yeah, so basically what happened was they take um the dad calls them again after they get her, the scientist guy. He tells them where a helicopter is gonna be. So they go off there, they get there, they kill a bunch of the guards guarding it. They and then the guy who the guy who's basically shown us the villain of this movie, he so after the scientist makes the call to them about where the airplane will be, he immediately shuts down all the scientists' like computer stuff, so he can't do anything, and he ends up going on get and he and goes there to the helicopter. He's trying to force Alice to fight Nemesis. Alice is saying no because she knows because she knows who he really is. He shoots the scientist dude in the face, so now Annie's without her dad. Great job, Lois. Or Alice. Lois. I've not been watching Family Guy, but that's probably where I got it from. So yeah, so basically, Alice fights Nemesis. She doesn't kill Nemesis like he wants, and he of course is calling her disappointment and all this stuff. So he tries to get her to of course kill Alice with Nemesis. Nemesis grabs his minigun, but he remembers her, so he guns down a bunch of soldiers, and then Carlos gets out of his handcuff things, and he's of course fighting. Jill gets out of hers. The pimp guy is in the cockpit of the airplane, so that's cool. Because the one guy runs the bad guy of this movie runs, and he's like, why aren't we moving? And he says, because I only know how to drive a Cadillac. Alice is shown being a badass, right? She's fighting. There's these helicopters that appear. She's trying to shoot it down. Nemesis ends up showing up. Rocket launchers the two helicopters. And then the flaming helicopter falls onto Nemesis. So Nemesis, just as far as we know of, he's dead. I don't know if he is actually dead or not, but basically he's shown at least. I don't even know what this is. He's basically shown as being dead because he's under a flaming. He's under a flaming helicopter, the resurrected edition. Okay, but yeah, so he's. And then Alice was like unconscious, sort of. She is having trouble seeing, basically. So Carlos and Jill go over and get her. They get onto the helicopter. As they're leaving, before they leave, like after taking off, they knock the bad guy into the zombies. He shoots a few zombies. He's about to shoot himself. He's out of ammo though, so the zombies eat him. Funnily enough, the first zombie to eat him was the scientist guy, which I think is kind of pretty funny. He also didn't shoot the zombies that he shot in the head, so they were still going towards him. And then, oh yeah, I'll get to it now because this is kind of when it's important. There was a missile. There was a nuclear. It was basically they shot a 5 kiloton like a nuke at the city, so the nuke blows up. The cover story with so yeah, so you see that, and that forces the helicopter that Alice and all of them are in to crash. They only find Alice's body, which I think is interesting. They find Alice's body and like half of her face is burnt. They didn't find the rest of them though, which I thought was interesting. They take Alice to a research sort of area. She's in a healing tank. Um, Alice is hearing Annie's voice, so telling her to wake up. So she wakes up, and then she's talking to these scientists. And as she's saying my name, because they ask her like what her name is after doing some stuff. They also show her what a pet is, because she doesn't remember all this stuff fully. She does get her memories back, and she just kicks all of their asses. A guy tried to tase her, it failed. She gets out of there. A bunch of guys have their guns pointed at her. Carlos comes out, and Jill does as well, just in a different outfit. They get Alice and put her in this car. We'll get to we're nearing the ending, and I'm kind of nervous about it. We'll get there though. And like I'm nervous about Extinction. I was nervous to watch the first movie. I was nervous to watch this movie, but like I'm starting to get like really nervous just because I'm very nervous with Extinction. Um, Somewhere in there, it was like took before we saw Alice waking up, they showed like new stuff. They do mention the tape that was filmed by that reporter. I guess that got leaked to the like press, but the press side was Umbrella's story, the cover-up story that it was a nuclear meltdown. So that's fine. Even though they literally got the tape of the truth of all the zombies and stuff, that story they were like basically Umbrella saying that story was false, and for some reason they said it was Umbrella. Jill and Carlos were getting questioned by police, which kind of had me a little nervous because it doesn't seem like I'm just nervous I won't see much more of Jill and Carlos from what I saw in this thing, because I really liked them in this movie. I would love to see more of them. I also want to see more Annie, but again, Annie, from what I saw from the descriptions of the other movies when I was looking at them in order, the brief description, sort of the basic rundown, kind of like what I try to do here, but I've been the spoiler-free review. They say nothing about Jill, Carlos, or Annie. They do mention other Resident Evil characters for the games, which I'm hyped for. I'm just nervous about the people she's currently with, if that makes sense. I'm scared something bad's going to happen to them, sort of like how in the first movie everybody died but 2 people. I'm very scared. Just know that going into Extinction and from here on out, expect me to be scared going to the next movies. But yeah, so that, and then, then we're back to Alice, being out there, escaping from all those guys. There's a lot of people pointing guns at her. Carlos and Jill walk up. They are giving clearance of Alice. They get to the stop. One of the doctors who wasn't dead, it was the main one that was talking to Alice. He tells the guy to let her go, but then he starts something in Alice. Jill and Annie are looking at Alice because they're worried about her. Annie's in the very back seat. So basically, it's the pimp dude. He's driving. Carlos is next to him. Then Jill is behind the pimp guy. Annie's behind her in the very back, and Alice is in the same row as Jill in the middle. And instead of answering, because but instead of answering them, because they asked her what they did to her, because she's having those because of the whatever the program thing that the doctor scientist dude activated, whatever that's supposed to be, she just didn't say anything. Like, clearly something changed with Alice. I'm very nervous. Just a few quick theories of mine, or just sort of me rambling about my nervousness here with like Extinction. I'm gonna say a few things that I hope get explained in the next movie, Extinction, when I get there. I would like them to explain like what the programming is. I hope they figure out something's wrong with her pretty quickly and get her back to normal. I hope Alice gets back to normal in general. I really hope that sort of her current crew, if you will, like the people she's currently with, I really hope nothing bad happens to them. I I really hope Annie, like nothing, I really, especially with Annie, I hope nothing bad happens to her since she's a child, and I think she's a very cool character, and her and Alice have a connection, so, there's that as well, but like, and I really don't want, anything bad to happen to Alice, or, not Alice. She's the main character, so obviously I don't want anything bad to happen to her, really, but Jill and Carlos, because they're video game characters that I love, so I hope nothing bad happens to them. As for the pimp guy, I hope nothing bad happens to him, but I'm nervous. I'm nervous. Um, I'm so nervous about Extinction. The basic rundown of Extinction seemed pretty simple. I think it might be a few years after this movie or something. It takes place sometime after this movie. We learn more about the T virus. Alice is oh yeah, I didn't mention it, but Alice, in addition to being just better now because of the T virus, she gains a power where she like looks at this camera and the guy like starts bleeding from his eyeballs and just dies. So that's like, it's a hardcore death stare. So that's really cool. I'm so nervous going into Extinction. I really hope. I'm just so nervous. I'm excited to get to the final chapters, which I didn't realize was released in 2017, but I'm excited to get there because once I get there, the plot should all make sense because I'm at the end of it. Apparently, this movie, Apocalypse, and I think maybe Extinction as well, were filmed by a different director because the original movie was filmed by a certain director, and I don't remember if he made Extinction. He came back for Extinction in a movie after Extinction, but whichever movie he came back for, he was a part of there on Alice the series. I'm gonna end this there. I'm gonna end this there here. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share the video, ring the bell, do all the algorithmic garbage. If you have anything else you want to tell me about the plot of Apocalypse here, almost said Revelations, which is a video game, tell me in the comment section below. I don't want any spoilers for Extinction or any of the future movies though. Save those for when we get to those movies because I'm working on it. If you have any ideas for movies you'd like me in orange or just me, depending on how things work out, tell me in the comment section below as well. Final thoughts here of Apocalypse. I really liked it compared to the first movie. The first movie was pretty pointless in my eyes except for the ending, just because it just, to me at least, it felt like it amounted to nothing. I know parts of the first movie will be important later on. I don't know which movie that will be. The second movie is great. I'm just very nervous that something bad will happen to Jill or Carlos or Annie or the pimp guy. I mean, Alice took it really hard when she was just Alice, of course, was very like scared, like sad and upset that she couldn't really save anybody like she was trying to in the first movie. So I want her to be able to succeed here, but I'm just so nervous. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next video, which will either be the new gaming series I'm gonna bring to the channel, or it'll be Extinction. So we get there when we get there. Bye, guys.